Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for being here, for braving this early hour in this fourth day of the Delphi Economic Forum. It's hopefully a very exciting panel here of experts, and the topic is innovation and how it will shape the future of technology in defense. Let me very briefly introduce the panel. Next to me, Pantelis Tzortzakis, the Vice Chairman and Executive Member of the Board of the Hellenic Development Bank. And from the European Investment Bank, the Head of the Investment Team for Greece and Cyprus, Ioannis Kaltsas. Angelos Tsereklas, the Managing Director of SOTIRIA, a startup company based in Greece and in Brussels, in Belgium. Deeph, Chana, the Managing Director of DIANA, the Defense Innovation Accelerator for the North Atlantic. This is a NATO initiative. And Costas Papadopoulos, he is Executive Director for Southeastern Europe in Lockheed Martin. And Alexandros Diakopoulos, the Executive Chairman of the Hellenic Aerospace industry in Greece. They will bring views and insights on this very, very exciting topic in defense technology and how the future will be shaped by innovation. And it is in response exactly to a new era, if you want, on global geopolitical uncertainty. And the need to deal with a rapidly evolving landscape in national security. This is what making countries across the world to decide to transform their military capabilities. And in doing so, they look into innovation, they look into non-traditional sources for technology. And this, of course, brings obstacles on how you can scale this up and bring it into an industrial scale. So this is very, very, very interesting dynamics and very interesting development in this front. And it seems that startups are really ready to take this critical role and complement the conventional industrial base in defense. I have put up a slide to give you an idea of this rising wave of tech disruptors. And I've taken this data from a report by McKinsey. And it's actually, what I'm showing is I'm trying to depict the tsunami that is coming. What you see there, these are numbers for US tech startups that got seed funding, participated in seed funding rounds in 3 different waves. First, during the 8 years between 2002 and 2010. And check it out, it's only 22 startups in the US that participated in these rounds. Of course, in these 22, we had SpaceX and we had Palantir. And then in the next 6 years, the second wave, 2011 to 2017, you see the explosion from 22 to 466. And now in the last 5 years, 2018 to 2023, 849 startups in fields including sensing, connectivity and security, advanced computing and software, space technology, biotechnology, autonomous systems, as well as advanced materials, interface between humans and machines, energy generation, energy storage, and quantum, and of course, semiconductors. So this is definitely not very traditional. This is what I think globally we're going to have to be dealing with, and I think this panel is exactly what it's going to be addressing. We have seen big organizations, NATO, making historic decisions exactly to deal with this issue, the issue of innovation in defense tech, and now Europe, Greece, and the big corporations, and of course the startups, they are all adapting to this new situation. So I will start first with Deeph Chana. Deeph Chana, he left behind an academic position, a professorship at Imperial College, and he took over as executive and managing director of DIANA, an organization that is branding a name globally. This is a historic name for NATO, and nobody, I mean, knew what to expect. I mean, nobody thought what to expect, actually. It is, very often it was said that Deeph is flying an airplane, and at the same time he is making it. So this is very, very courageous. A Herculean task, if you want, and in my opinion. So Deeph, you know that Hercules did come to Delphi, and he came to find out about his future challenges. I wonder whether you have come for the same reason. But please give us a feel of the incredible disruption that Diana itself is bringing.
Thank you, George. It's a real pleasure to be here. And yeah, I've been asking questions since I arrived, but I still have not met the Oracle and got all the answers. So this is, we'll see how that goes. I mean, look, this thing, the Defense Innovation Accelerator in the North Atlantic, maybe I could just give some context exactly what we're doing. I was fortunate enough a few years ago to be asked by the Secretary General at NATO to try and join a group of people, to chair a group of people who were external to NATO, to try and figure out how the alliance might keep pace with a very rapidly evolving technology environment that it found itself in. As you say, there's a lot of things happening, particularly when you look at entrepreneurship, in terms of the growth of entrepreneurship, but just also the sheer pace of development with some of our disruptive and emerging technologies. And so we kind of came up after a couple of years, I think 24 months of really diligent work, with a proposal that in fact that NATO should be involved in acceleration, proactively being involved in growing startups and investing in startups. And it should also be involved in the investment piece on an equity side, not just giving grant funding or giving grant support, but also giving equity funding on another side, and create a pipeline through which these companies that contain these bright ideas could actually grow. And that ended up becoming, on the one hand, Diana, which is the Defense Innovation Accelerator, which is in fact, we provide grant funding to companies. And more importantly than the funding, we also provide them with a curriculum and an ecosystem within which they can interact with defense end users and connect with the kind of defense and security problems of today. And on the other side of that, there is the NATO Innovation Fund, which is a venture capital fund, which was also simultaneously created, the world's first multi-sovereign VC fund in technology. And the idea being that the NATO Innovation Fund is a vehicle that could take companies that have gone through an accelerator process, for example, and help them to scale up. So starting to put in together the pieces, the Lego blocks, if you like, of an innovation pipeline with the hope that this will create copycats and create a more vibrant ecosystem for growth of our startups. The other key thing here to mention is how we view the future of defense and how we view the future of this problem space. I think quite a few of us, particularly, let's say, those who are academically studying this kind of area, have been talking about the emergent complexity of our societies for quite a few years now, and trying to explain that, in fact, it is not so easy to separate out the traditional domains of defense and resilience and homeland security and the civil space. All of these things are very, very integrated. And actually what you see with things like the war in Ukraine is that theory coming true, unfortunately, in very real sense. And so what we realized is that we needed to invest in science and technology with a more sort of holistic view of defense. So what is the mission of defense? The mission of defense should be to invest in things which help us to prevent the likelihood of going into conflict scenarios in the first place. And at the same time, if we need tools to resolve conflict, to be able to do that quickly, rapidly, to conclusion with minimal impact. And it's this dual-use proposition that we put out there. And just, I'm conscious I don't want to take too much more time, but to give you an update of where we are with that, last year we published 3 challenge calls for the first time. Energy resilience was one of them, secure information sharing another, and sensing and surveillance. We received 1,300 applications from across the Alliance for the first cohort of funding. We now have 44 companies running through the first accelerator program. We're gearing up for the second run, which will come out this summer and probably involve 5 challenge areas. And of course, we have an accelerator footprint across the alliance of partners, and very pleased that in Greece we're going to be working very closely with Demokritos, of course, as the accelerator site here in Greece. But maybe I'll stop there, George, and I don't know.
You know, one more thing, because I'm always amazed, because we all have to learn a lot of things from you, actually. How do you manage to manage an organization with, has to be dynamic, agile, and swift in decisions, and you have a board of directors with 32 countries representing their own interests, and every single decision you have to get a unanimous vote from these guys. I mean, to me, this is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it's an interesting challenge. As you said, we are building the aeroplane. Yeah, we are sort of flying the airplane, not whilst we're building it. We're still ordering some of the parts, and the lead times can be a bit long. I'm fortunate enough in my career. I started off as a theoretical physicist, but I also then worked in the government for a little while. I've worked inside these kind of organizations, and you have to, of course, have an understanding how to balance some of these factors out. But we are a spin-out ourselves. So I'm running a startup that is funding startups. So, Diana is effectively only a few months old, really. We start proper operations 10 months ago. And of course, there is a learning journey that everyone has to go through, including the organization and the alliance members as well, about how to become more agile, how to actually change the modus operandi, if you like, to match the pace of a very vibrant technology environment. And actually, that's the key challenge, George, because if we don't do that, if we do not actually understand how to be faster, how to take risks where the right kind of risks, and to move with that sort of agility, then in fact we're going to be moving further and further behind the curve. And the other problem, of course, is if we're not matching and we're not involved in those conversations, the opportunity to get talent into this space in the future is going to be very, very difficult to do. Because the talent that we're talking about, people are working, like the gentleman sitting next to me here, the talent that we're talking about working on this huge, amazing technological areas are very competed for, right?
And this is my next question to the talent, to the gentleman sitting next to you, Angelos Tsereklas, the managing director of SOTIRIA. SOTIRIA is one of these 44 companies that were selected out of 1,300 applications last summer. We're very proud because it's a Greek company, and now he's really getting first-hand experience of what Diana is about. Is it worth the effort and the competition?
Yeah, so first, thank you very much for inviting us here, and it's a great pleasure to be among such a panel and such an audience. A bit of introduction, who we are. Our company is called SOTIRIA Technology. We focus on technologies having to do with underwater intelligence through hardware and software solutions. We are part of NATO Diana, and we are currently getting accelerated in Boston, in the United States. I don't want to avoid the question. The Diana experience is a great experience, and I want to highlight 3 things. The 2 are good. The third is I see it happening in the future. One is about speed. So how fast Diana has been built. Professor Chana mentioned the 1,300 applications, but it's not only this. It's 200 testing centers, high-tier institutes about technology all around the world that we have the honor to have access to and collaborate, and we are doing so already. But it's not only this. It's bringing also us closer, us and all the related startups, of course, closer and building a community of investors around Diana. And this is very important. And I want to mention in these 2 points also the fact that Diana is not an organization that is growing fast to self, let's say, to create value for itself, but it really, on the way, adds value to us with speed. And this is very important. To us, I mean the startups and the technology companies. The third point, which is on the future, and it's about achieving what is called transition success. And transition meaning not only funding great ideas, but building products, and these products to being used on the field by, for example, allied forces or by commercial customers. What we see is that Diana is making use of best practices around the 32 countries. One example that we see that is very positive is the Defense Innovation Unit in the United States. And talking about transition success, I will say some numbers, don't hold me accountable for them. It's from 22. For example, such a Defense Innovation Unit managed to, let's say, from the about 50 companies that it selected to fund, about 20 of them actually went to the supply chain of the US forces. And it created from the, let's say, 200, I think, 0.2 billion of US dollars invested. It created 6 times this in actual turnover and money spent on the field.
Angela, if I may say, because I know that's in the minds of many people, you know, okay, this is a Greek startup doing some exciting work with a lot of talent in defense, and now you are in Boston, being accelerated there. So what's going to happen? You have thoughts about, you know, setting things up in the States?
Of course, yes. So three main points also. So I'm going with the threes here. So the first is, yes, geographical expansion and what we want to do. We want to grow in Europe and build our presence in Europe, but also in North America. And establishing this year or early next year, we'll see a subsidiary in the United States. The second is product expansion. So basically, currently our system are, you can imagine a box on the seabed collecting data and creating insights. We want to move also into the autonomous platforms, so this box being moved around, either on the sea or above. And the third, I would say, is really growing with top talent in the AI, ML, and also on the R&D cycles, moving to also sensing on the atomic or quantum. We do magnetometers, so moving also into the atomic or quantum realm, improving sensitivities, etc.
Thank you. So let's pass to Europe. There is a big announcement, sir. Two months ago, the President of the Commission about security and safety of the European economy and how this can be achieved by shifting big funds and big investments towards dual-use technologies that have to stay in Europe and have to make Europe autonomous and strong as far as defense is concerned, being able to control investments, in a sense, in defense tech. Even yesterday, I think, there were big announcements at the ECOFIN about the strategy of the European Union in this direction. Yanni, tell us, the European Investment Bank, a huge decision. You are shifting also your strategy towards dual use.
Thank you very much, Giorgio, and thank you for inviting me in this panel. Since one of my previous speakers talked about oracles, 27 years ago when I started working in the World Bank, or 20 years in the EIB, if the oracle was telling me that I would sit in a defense panel, I would not believe it. Obviously, times have changed. Geopolitical events did happen. And indeed, we had big announcements. Last night, the Ministers of Finance, the ECOFIN, decided that the EIB should go even further in the financing of dual-use technologies. We already have, since 2017, the Strategic European Safety Initiative, SESI, with 8 billion euros to go towards new technologies, defense technologies with dual-use purpose. But now the decision is to go even further, to expand the definition of dual use, not to require at least 50% civil use definition within this mix of dual use. There is the European Investment Fund, our subsidiary, which together with the European Commission will send the defense equity financing facility targeting startups. The EIB, with its products, will focus more for startups to grow and to become viable industries within Europe. We'll open our financing to SMEs that were excluded in the past when they have kind of defense orientation. But all of this, all the political announcements, Yorgo, if I have to say, in the political direction, should not take out from the fact that we're an investment bank. And as investments, these investments, they do make sense. They make money. As bankers, we do look that the investments make money. We're not doing policy. We want the investments to be viable. And if I may say that in Greece, there are two types of investments that I feel they do not need grants. Renewable energy investments, in my view, that we should not get any grant in Greece because the technology for solar is so advanced that every home, every industry, every island should be energy autonomous. Similarly, a country that spends so much money in its defense should be able to make money out of this investment that it's doing its own defense and security. So bottom line, we are open for business. We're encouraging institutions like yours that they produce startups and to come to us so that these startups will be evaluated by us and to be able to grow, and of course to look around and for partnerships that such the other European defense or NATO defense mechanism that could take us much further.
And thank you, Yanni. And let's go to the national level. And Pantelis, it is great to have you in this panel. And even though you are at the Hellenic Development Bank, I know you are one of the people who work hard on setting up new legislation. Some of the gentlemen in the audience are working alongside with you. That's also historic for Greece, opening up to tech innovation in defense. And we are all eager. We all expect great things, great outcomes. So tell us about, give us an idea about what's going to happen. It's going to happen very soon. Do we have more Hercules in the making here?
I just passed from PTN and I drink some water in order to allow me to say some words. Anyhow, I'm in a kind of internal conflict because am I speaking as an entrepreneur? Am I speaking as a previous minister? Am I speaking as an executive in Hellenic Development Bank? Or all of them? So in Hellenic Development Bank, we believe that we have two main purposes. One purpose is to intervene when there is market failure. And the second one is to intervene in order to create, to do market creation. The part of the defense has to do with market creation because we do believe, I mean, it's not something new. Everybody, I think, in the audience, you do know that Silicon Valley, if you read the Steve Blank, Silicon Valley back on 1956, the first company was HP with 600 people. And then with radio wave technologies and all this kind of thing that came along at that point, up to 66, in fact, the American forces put the foundation in order to create the Silicon Valley. The same thing happened in Israel, exactly the same. In Israel, just to give you a number, on each call, they have 500 companies. Each call 500 companies with a country of 9 million people.
Yep.
So, and they do select around 16 to 20 on each call. The number, it's really amazing, I mean. And what I think is the beauty of this? The beauty is the word innovation, because the word innovation, it's going to work in and create multiple effect on the two players. One is the army. So army wants to improve its functionality, to improve the way they are doing their own work. And on the other side is the private sector. And the private sector want to use this in order to move one step further. So I think it will be much easier for a company if you have a proof of sales with the Army in order to do the equity financing and to sell, to raise equity and all this kind of thing. You know, at the end of the day, my experience, I mean, starting as an entrepreneur and raising more than 600 million euro from the market, it's my strong belief that the money is not the constraint. The constraint is the institutional environment that allows the people to flourish. I think this is the first priority, and this is something that we have to achieve. I believe that, as Mr. Denga said, our objective in the new company is going to work in parallel in three different directions. The first direction is going to make calls, and through the calls to select companies that they are going to improve certain function or certain equipment of the Army, or at the same time to find new and very technological advanced solution for the needs of the Army. So that's the first one. The second one, it will be to create the clustering effect. What I want to say with that is that, I mean, I'm a startupper. It's important to have the startup. It's important to work with a startup, but we have to bring together the three cycles that, unfortunately, in Greece, they don't speak too much to each other. One is the startup community, the other one is the research center and university, and the other one is the big industry. These three has to work together in order to create multiple effects. And why I'm saying that, because as one company becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, then it's risk-free. If it's risk-free, it does not innovate. Who innovate? The small companies. So the combination of the small innovator with the big, rigid financial companies create the magic effect that it will give us the possibility to move forward. So the new organization is going to have one branch that is going to be the call, the branch that is going to evaluate different areas for the forces. For example, let me give an example. When we are speaking about drone, I mean, drone is very important for the air, it's very important for the underwater, it's very important for the last mile. So it will be better, instead of going what the Army do for drone, what the Air Force is doing for drone, to go vertical and create a drone, let's say, place that we are going to improve the technology, we are going to improve the way that the drone is going to be handled, and then to follow peculiarity of the different divisions in the Army. So going from the technology and to the operation, and not from the operation to the technology. So this is the first change we will try to do. The second one is that the new company is going to have two branches. One branch is going to be all the financial tools in order to help the startup or the big companies to move ahead. And these financial tools, I hope we'll have very close cooperation with Hellenic Development Bank in order to facilitate that and to issue it to the market. And the second one is going to be the equity function. The equity function for the first 2 years, it's going to be more a kind of co-investment and not a direct investment. The direct investment, it will come because we do want to have the feel and the touch of the market, but it's not going to be the first priority. The first priority is going to be co-investment because we have to work together with the venture capital subsystem of Greece and also the venture capital from Europe in order to work together in order to, to speed up the whole process. So this is going to be the main idea behind it. So one branch for coal in order to improve the functions and to improve the product of the army. As long as they succeed, immediately we're going to do a contract with the army in order to get that on behalf of the army. So that is going to be extremely important because the company will have the proof of sales and that it will make his life much easier. We did, with the Minister of Defense and my colleagues, we did, as a development bank, we did a very intensive work, and we tried to take, not to reinvent the wheel. So we check very carefully what the DIU do in United States. We check very carefully what DDRD or Mafat does in Israel. So we check what other European, like France, is doing on that direction. And
still, to make this plane fly, it's going to take a lot of courage and a huge effort, especially in changing mentality. And I'm glad you mentioned the Palo Alto and Silicon Valley and Hewlett-Packard, because the main supporters of Hewlett-Packard, when it all started, was the Stanford Research Institute. It was a major research center, and this is what we are aspiring to at Demokritos, and of course DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects of the United States. So because you talked about the big corporates and how they can benefit from these huge changes in the defense practices, Mr. Diakopoulos, I will go directly to you. How do you see the Hellenic aerospace industry shaping up or taking advantage of these big disruptive changes that the new legislation will bring in this country?
Thank you very much, Mr. Nounesis. I want to make some very brief remarks on what has been said before. First of all, I completely agree. A lot of money, more than 400 billion, has been invested in defense since 1974. And in Greece, we still don't have a substantial defense industry. We're not producing, we're just buying. And this is a great problem. My second remark is that, as they say, the generals are preparing, for the previous, they're planning for the previous war. And it's not only the generals who are planning for the previous war. Big defense industries, sorry, my partners to Lockheed Martin, they're building for the previous war as well. The future is just a catchphrase. This is why peaceful times are not good for innovation. The biggest innovator is the war. We have seen that in the First and Second World War, and we see that in Ukraine now. The wake-up call, it was Ukraine. We had all these legacy big drones, but the FPV drone built with $400 happened in Ukraine. And we woke up and we said, okay, so much things are happening, or the merging of defense and civilian technologies happened in the battlefields in Ukraine. And this was the wake-up call. The problem is that the whole framework, the institutional, legal, the state of mind, the mentality, is not helping innovation. Think of the procurement cycle. In the general staff, for example, the cycle is sometimes 2 years from the start. You plan to buy or to purchase, to procure a defense system from the time that you sign the contract to purchase it. Startups work in much smaller cycles. Second, there's a mentality that doesn't accept failure. It's zero defect. So when we talk about startups and innovation, and there should be, otherwise it's not innovation, it's reverse engineering. There is a big percentage of failure. I mean, you have thousands of ideas, and you just hope that one of these 1,000 will flourish. But, okay, think of the guys on the general staff or the Ministry of Defense, they would never invest in 1,000 ideas hoping that someone will flourish, because they would never been accepted, neither by the public nor by their political masters. They will be accused for failures and for sending money, to failed systems. And these are inherent problems that we have to solve. Hopefully, Mr. Tzortzakis will solve them, but these are inherent problems in the whole process.
But he will have.
Another thing very Greek, and which we have to focus on, is that Greece, for a developed country, has practically no links between industry and universities, especially in the defense sector. In the Global Innovation Index, whatever, Greece is in the bottom regarding the university to industry links. And this is the heart of the problem, yes. Mr. Nounesis.
Yes, of course it
now,
is.
coming to my company, of course we do innovate. We have very nice things. You have to come and see. Because, okay, well known, our core business is RMI and construction and all that stuff with aircrafts, but we have the electronic departments, and we're part of some very high-end electronic programs. But Hellenic Aerospace Industries has all the ingredients to become a test center and to become what is the missing link is, okay, there is a lot of research, but this research very rarely, especially in Greece, and especially because the research is coming from funds from the European Union or elsewhere, very rarely we see this research being transformed into industrial production. Hellenic Aerospace Industries can be the locus of the industrial production of all this research happening, even in your institution, Mr. Nounesis.
Thank you. We're looking forward, and you're going to hear from us.
George, I just want to, just very quickly, I know we're pressed on time, but I've got to really agree with a lot of what's just been said there, but just to expand this a bit more, this is not just a problem, let's say, in the country that we're sitting in right now. This is a systemic issue right across the entire defense innovation space. That is actually what we're trying to address with Diana. And that innovation has to happen because we're seeing it writ large in the examples of conflict we see today. And if that doesn't change, then actually, then the thing is lost already.
Yeah.
And you've got to win. And the dual use proposition that we put out there, the reason we do that is twofold. First of all, we need a mission that talent feels it wants to invest its time in. We don't have that, okay? That is a problem, which is the reason why a lot of universities are not necessarily wanting to connect with this. And this is what we're seeing changing with Diana. Similarly, the dual use proposition on the market side provides a revenue surface area for the startups that our investors want to dive into. Because let me tell you, if you start talking to me about 10-year procurement cycles and 3 or 4 units of sales, that is not a business. And I'm an entrepreneur myself and a non-executive director advisor. I would advise my startup, do not go into this business.
Yeah.
This is not going to give you a return. So this is the other issue we have to solve.
That has to change. I mean, defense has to be associated with prosperity. And now we're going to the giant in the panel, Lockheed Martin, and you, all this incredible change that is happening around the globe, reshaping of military capabilities. I bet you have to increase the volume of production. You have to respond to incredible offers. Yeah.
Thank you very much. First of all,
how you do it?
Well, have to do it fast. Actually, I agree with all our all panelists here. In a lot of ways. What we're doing in our company is that we have developed a model that helps us to adapt according to the needs and the requirements of our customers and of the battle space. And delivering the 21st century equipment to our customers at the production rate that it is required and at a competitive rate and reliable, above all. the model that we have developed helps us scale our production according to the requirements. I can give you a couple of examples just to shorten the time. It's like, for example, the GMLRS, which is the missiles that they go on the MLRS system or the HIMARS. Okay, we have achieved to reach 14,000 per year, which is a great advance in the technology and in the way that we produce stuff. Same thing, we have increased the production of the HIMARS, the production of the Patriot, of the PAC-3 missiles, and so on. So we do have the model, we do have the ability to do that. Concerning what Admiral Diakopoulos said earlier, that the industry doesn't cooperate with universities, doesn't cooperate with the research centers and so on. I agree with him. It's very little is done, but nonetheless, we are doing that even here in Greece. We are cooperating with the University of Athens in the aerospace faculty, and I think we can produce, very good results in that respect. Mm-hmm. So taking all these ideas, that is something that I guess the new vision about innovation at the military at this point in time, at the Ministry of Defense, this is where we all have to work together in order to advance this idea and advance the products. Otherwise, if it is only wishful thinking, we're not going anywhere.
How about news for Greece? We are Lockheed Martin and Greece, the letters of offer, letters of acceptance. How about that? Any news?
Thank you
for the panel?
Well, actually, we just signed a week ago the LOA, the letter of offer and acceptance, for the 35 helicopters, the Mikes. It's a utility helicopter, the Black Hawk, which is going to add, to the family of helicopters available here in Greece, because Greece has already has the S-70. They have already bought the MH-60 Romeo, which is a naval helicopter. So we're going to have a big family of the Hawk kind of helicopter here in Greece, which makes Greece a partner in the larger community in the world, buying the best helicopter, which has something like 5 million hours, flight hours, and proven in combat. And as well, they're joining a community of 5,000 helicopters. So that is a great thing to have, to operate and train and doing common exercises.
How about the F-35s?
The F-35, thank you. The F-35, we just, the LOA just hit the country. It is with the ministry. It's going to take some time, I guess, until it's worked out.
But it's been worked on.
And expecting the LOA to be signed pretty soon, I would say.
All right, very brief closing statements. It's defense and prosperity, and how about convergence? Convergence between Europe and NATO. Are we expecting to see these kind of things, Ioannis?
I think what it is important is about the business proposition, the project proposition. So, of course, all knowledge and experience is highly useful. So I do expect there will be a combination of new projects that will make sense in the dual use space.
Deeph, are you ready to converge with Europe?
Yeah, I think that convergence is going to happen. I think there's enough market forces and pressures, and some of the stuff that we're doing, for example, with a project like Diana, is pushing towards that direction. It might be messy in some places to achieve it, but I think it'll be achieved. My closing statement here really just is going to be around going back to the diversity of talent that we need to address in the future. We need younger people involved in this. We need more diverse communities involved in this. We are a panel here all of men, if you can see. There are women in the audience, I know. But again, if you walk into defense and security rooms, you're going to tend to see the same kind of demographic. And I think in the future, what we really have to figure out is how do we get all of the smartest people into the space. So.
All right, it's no more time. The next panel is Mr. Ioannis. I am George Nounesis, the Director and Chairman of the Board of the National Center for Scientific Research, Demokritos of Greece. Thank you all very, very much for attending.